Today I have the opportunity to look at a 7.3 liter Ford Godzilla crate engine. Now this is fairly unique and I want to show you a few of those things today. Now this is a 445 cubic inch big block technically, and it comes in their 3/4 and 1 ton trucks. What Ford offers it now is a crate engine option. Now I think the whole reason behind this is to go after that LS crowd, the Gen 3 Hemi crowd that has dominated the performance aftermarket. And to do that, they needed a cheaper alternative. So this is an overhead valve pushrod engine, and that is the unique side of this. Ford has pivoted towards that modular headed engine in their performance applications for probably, I think, the last 8 to 10 years now. And going back to a overhead valve engine, pushrod engine, is very, very unique. It seems it's a step back for them, but I think based on all the aspects of this engine, I think it's a good idea for them. Now, this is a much smaller footprint than that mod motor crate engine or the mod motor engine that comes in the Mustang. It will fit in probably an early Mustang, Fox body for sure, F-150, any of the older pickups as a really, really good swap. Now, this is an iron block aluminum headed engine. Internally, forged steel crank and 6-bolt mains. That's important because they've also done that very deep skirted, shrouded block that helps protect and stabilize the rotating assembly. And I think that's one of the reasons why this engine is going to be very, very fun once aftermarket rotating assemblies with a bigger stroke become available, because there is room in the engine now to do that. The other side of that is that Ford has raised the camshaft location to give that additional clearance for the rotating assembly. Once you move the cam higher, you can put a longer stroke in it. You don't have the interference with the connecting rod and the camshaft. So this thing is ripe for somebody to put a big stroke engine and maybe build a 496 500 cubic inch engine on a really good stroked assembly. From the factory, comes with Hypertech pistons. It's a 10.5 to 1 compression engine. So really, as it sits today, the heads are very good on it. I think you could probably make a really, really decent amount of horsepower with this thing. Now, going back to the camshaft, it does have the variable cam timing, so you can lock that out. That is a plus there as well. Intake manifold on this thing, it is the factory F250 intake manifold in a really, really small 80 millimeter throttle body. Now that is really good, probably for, to hit the horsepower and torque ratings of this crate engine, which I believe are 430 horsepower at around 5,500 RPM, I believe it was, and like 475 torque at 4,000 RPM. So that 80 millimeter throttle body and that intake with these really long runners are perfect for that. But as far as performance application, yeah, there's going to need to be a little bit better breathing intake manifold for that to happen. Port injected, so the injectors are top of the engine, go right down into the cylinder head, and very, very nice design given where the runners are at on the intake side of the cylinder head. Cylinder heads are fairly unique. Very, very large runners on the intake side. On the exhaust side, they're I think same. They've got a very, very nice runner. I don't have the exact dimensions on that. I think those already been published. The only weird thing on the intake side is the guide certainly hangs down way down into that runner, and I think it's just the head design and given how much material is there. So I'm sure at some point in time, if this engine takes off, somebody will build an aftermarket cylinder head and correct some of those little issues to help the flow a little bit better. Now, because this is a crate engine and is technically the spec of a F250, F350 truck, you do get the big truck oil pan and the integrated oil cooler and filter into it. I can see where that would be a really, really cool deal. The problem with that is that pan is so deep that it might not fit into most swaps that aren't pickup trucks, where you've got, that more ground clearance and you can have that oil pan hang down low below the cross member or lower in the engine bay and not worry about having some ground clearance issues. But headers, pistons, camshafts are already in the works. There are a lot of stuff that's already being made for this crate engine, which makes it really exciting, because if you're going to leave it NA or boosted, starting to add all those other pieces to the puzzle to help it breathe better. Really, really key. Intake manifold with a larger throttle body is one that I hope to see from somebody. I would like to see a composite plastic intake as well. I think those are very, very good, especially on an NA motor. If you go anything more than that, maybe Edelbrock will make a nice cast ProFlow type of intake for it as well. Rotating assembly is the big one. I think if somebody can build a really, really good stroker crank and longer rod, I think that is going to be a really big game changer for this engine. It's got all the ability to handle it, and once that happens, you'll start seeing really, really big cubic inch, 500 inch plus stuff, I think, very, very quickly out of the aftermarket, and that will make it a really, really fun LS and Gen 3 Hemi killer out there. $8,100 from Ford at this point in time, and that is free shipping. That is a hell of a deal for what you are getting all into this package. It's going to be a really, really good deal, and I cannot wait to see some of this stuff getting swapped into the, like I say, the early Mustangs and Cougars and maybe Ranger pickups and F-150s and old F-100s. Really going to be fun to see that Ford crate engine kind of dominate it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the pictures. If you got any questions about this, don't hesitate to leave them down below, and we'll get back to you next time. We'll see you.